on the early chapters? Was it nice to like see where the family came from and kind of how they got to America and what their backstory was? Okay, now that you've done 2 weeks of this, are you liking reading these out of order and for a topic, or do you wish we'd like read the whole thing? You guys can weigh in, like unmute yourselves, or you can put it in chat if you want to. Hi, Esther. Hi, Madeline. Hey, Rosie. So no thoughts on that? Oh, thanks, sweet. I'm glad you like it like this. Anybody else?
I think I'm someone who likes to read a book more as a whole, because then I feel like I get a better understanding of it versus this. I'm just kind of like bouncing all over the place. And then are we doing the attendance thing? Because I watched the video, but I couldn't find the link for it. I don't know if I'm looking.
Yes, I'm actually going to throw that in right before supported work time. So okay. For some reason, it's popping up on mine, but it's not popping up on yours. I think I have to individually add all of you to the calendar event, and that just seems like way too much. So I'm going to throw it in after we do the lesson part, right before you guys go into supported work time. Cool. And I'm proud of you guys for watching the video. Way to go. Okay, Mohit said, would I prefer to read in the whole? Oh, okay, all right. So it works for this one, is what you're saying. All right, okay, all right. I will have a survey at the end of the semester for you guys to give me feedback like that. We always try to take what you guys tell us and implement it. So for future classes, if this is our first time doing it out of order like this, so if this is really not working, like we want to know that. Or if you guys are like, yeah, but I don't want to read 30 chapters, then I need to know that too. So useful. Any other thoughts from the chapters, things that stuck out to you, things you found confusing? Okay. Talk about political corruption. A lot of you guys put this in your comments, and I saw some excellent responses. Was there anything big that you wanted to mention that you saw in the chapters? I know that Lucy mentioned the voting. Was there anything else you guys pulled out and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that's a thing? No? I feel like mixing the Thursday and Friday people together just made the Thursday people quieter. All right, fair enough. How about modern connections to political corruption? Or as we discussed last week, anti-corruption? Were there things you saw that either you still see today or things you saw then that we've clearly fixed today? Anybody?
Sorry, I keep talking, but I was going to say, like, when it was talking about the bartender, like, just taking his money and not giving him change, like, I don't think you really ever hear about that happening now. Like, I just don't think that's something, I just don't think that happens. Or when it was talking about, like, how all of the people would, like, how common it was for people to be like mugged and stuff like in the night and then just like left out there, and how that guy was going to like die and lose all his like fingers and whatever. Like that stuff I feel like has really been fixed. Not that that's necessarily political corruption, but just societal issues. So
yeah, but I mean it stems from political corruption because now we would have hopefully a law enforcement arm and legislators who would say that's not legal, you can't do that, and who would actually stand up and enforce that. We also kind of have this weird thing, I think, with social media sort of being a guardian against corruption. Because now, I mean, imagine you saw that, someone whip out their phone and take a video of it, and then you'd have evidence and people couldn't say this didn't happen. So, yeah, it's a really good point.
And then also how the police just like didn't listen to his story at all because they had like the alliance with the bartender or whatever. I don't think that really happens as much anymore. So,
yeah. I mean, I think that's true in some places. I think, I don't know, you guys can chime in on this. I would say some people feel like the police or some pockets of the country have places where the police wouldn't listen. I'm thinking like Black Lives Matter this summer, right? People who are saying like, you know, you're not really upholding the law in the right way. You're treating people differently, but you're right. Different situations. Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Overall, did you find these chapters and this topic more compelling than workers' rights, or did you like the workers' rights chapter and topic better? Ooh, Kevin, I think you're talking. Can you unmute yourself? No? There you are. What were you saying, Kevin?
I like the political corruption better than the workers' rights.
Okay. Was there something in particular you liked better about it?
Well, I mean, not really. I just find it more, I don't know,
More interesting,
I guess.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Anybody else feeling one way or another? Ooh, I get some comments. Okay, cool. I'll read them out. Kelsey says it's better because there's a lot more happened and it's more smoother read. Okay, cool. Darcy says she likes them both, but interesting to see the differences in early and later chapters. Cool. Anybody else? Thoughts?
Okay, can I talk?
Yes, please.
I don't know if it's a matter of liking it more. I just thought the workers' rights one was more interesting because I don't think now we have much of a problem with it as much, like, you know, getting paid like 17 cents an hour. But like the political corruption stuff still kind of happens today. So yeah, I just thought the workers' rights one was more like something that I learned more about.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. I want to, I kind of stop and mention that because where we're headed after Thanksgiving is to your final project where you're going to kind of take on one of these issues and study it in its modern, I guess, iteration. So if you're kind of finding yourself like, yeah, workers' rights was more interesting because this one like talked about this in those ways. I'll push that out after Thanksgiving. So kind of be thinking about modern connections you might want to make with that. Cool. Any final thoughts on political corruption before we head into food safety? Okay. This first part is going to be a video. It's like 5 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and play it so we can all watch and talk about the Jungle and the Pure Food and Drug Act. It's, like I said, about 5 minutes long. I think it should work okay. I have to switch tabs here, but I think I can do that.
Sometimes you need to get away from the kids for grown-up time. Or get away from the grown-ups for kid time.
There we go.
In Chicago, throughout much of the 20th century, a rugged limestone gate marked the entrance to the heart of the nation's meatpacking industry, before officially closing in 1971. The Union Stockyard Gate survives as a visual reminder of Chicago's former reign in livestock and meatpacking, one that earned it the nickname Hog Butcher to the World. By the mid-1800s, the hub of the nation's meatpacking industry was centralizing in Chicago.
Chicago sits in an incredibly rich hinterland where the hogs and the cattle are being raised, and then you couple that with Chicago becoming the railroad center for the middle part of the country, if not the whole of the country. And then a third piece of this will kick in to get a sense of why Chicago and why at this time period, and that is it's going to be a lot of unskilled labor that's going to be needed in these processing plants, and that unskilled labor can get to Chicago pretty easily along the railroads.
A universe unto itself, the stockyards, feedlots, slaughterhouses, and meat processing plants, together with nearby worker housing, would become known as Packing Town. Days in the stockyards were long, and work in the slaughterhouses was grueling. Working for just pennies an hour, Unskilled immigrant laborers wielded sledgehammers and knives in dark and unventilated rooms. In 1904, the Meatpackers Union in Chicago went on strike. That brought a largely unknown writer for a socialist magazine named Upton Sinclair to Chicago. He came to investigate workers' allegations about the conditions in Packingtown. Sinclair spent 6 months interviewing workers and their families and spent time in the meatpacking plants. His resulting book, The Jungle, revealed so much more than he had planned.
The book does chronicle the tough working conditions that the workers face. It does chronicle the problems of housing in the neighborhood and the overcrowding in the neighborhood around back of the yards. But the real impact of the Jungle's book on the American public is an overall repugnance of the food processing that's going on in back of the yards and the food that's coming to their own tables.
Sinclair wrote about diseased, rotten, and contaminated meat doctored by chemicals and mislabeled for sale to the public, and about sausage piled on a dirty floor before workers carried it off in carts holding human urine, rat feces, and in some cases, dead rats.
Upton Sinclair and other muckraking journalists like Upton Sinclair really offered Chicagoans and the country as a whole an inside view on a world that most people weren't going to see, and that reminded people to think long and hard about where the food was that was on their table.
Sinclair's claims convinced President Theodore Roosevelt to appoint a special commission to investigate Chicago's slaughterhouses. When the commission's findings confirmed almost all of Sinclair's claims, Roosevelt pushed Congress to pass new legislation. The new laws prohibited the sale of adulterated or misbranded livestock and ensured that it was slaughtered and processed under sanitary conditions. The U.S. Department of Agriculture would be required to inspect all cattle, sheep, goats, and horses before and after they were slaughtered and processed for consumers. The Jungle became a best-selling novel, but for all the accolades and change for the better that it influenced, its author was disappointed.
The real result of The Jungle, of Upton Sinclair's work, is standards for food and food processing rather than better working conditions and wages for the workers themselves.
Sinclair had wanted the public to be outraged over the poor conditions for the workers, which he had also detailed in his book. He famously said, "I aimed at the public's heart, and by accident, I hit it in the stomach."
Okay, go ahead and put my camera back on, and I'll put this back. So, oh no, it went off present. Hang on, get back here. And there we go. Okay, there's a question on Canvas. You guys don't need to answer it since we're doing this. I didn't make it worth points this week because I figured with the virtual idea, this would be kind of hard to do. So let's just go ahead and talk. The question there says, what food safety regulations were inspired by the public's reaction to the jungle? So from what you saw in that video, and those of you who were in class on Monday, Tuesday, and were able to do the VR experience, you can draw on that too. What were the big, regulations that came out of the jungle? You guys can speak them out or you can pop them in comments.
I'm pretty sure like better working conditions. I'm not positive, but like tracking back where like the cattle came from.
Yeah. So being able to know where your food comes from, the fact that they have to inspect and know all those things. Yeah, absolutely. What else, guys?
I'm not positive this came from the book, but for the VR thing, they had to give them like vaccines.
Yeah, making sure that the food you're eating isn't sick. Yeah. Can you imagine, right, if you were actually living in the 1900s and reading The Jungle? I know you guys were grossed out enough when you read what Jurgis was doing, but imagine if you were reading that and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm eating that meat. How terrified you would be. By the way, anybody, show of hands, vegetarian? Okay, couple people. All right, the rest of you, right? Thinking about where meat comes from. Ooh, Kelsey. Okay, Alicia says a video mentioned inspectors, the Department of Agriculture, see the meat before and after it's processed. Yes. Sanitizing tools. Yes. Excellent. Anything else you guys pulled out of that? Oh, Pete, livestock being inspected before and after. Yeah. Also, people being very careful what they give animals. We give them vaccines, but what they eat, they're not just eating whatever. I know for the VR, Mr. Norris talked about how some of the slaughterhouses are farm to table, so the cattle are pumped full of fewer antibiotics and things they have to be for preservatives, and that's true. That doesn't mean the meat on our shelves in the grocery store is unsafe. It just means some is more, I guess, organic than others. I'm not really sure if you can use organic when it comes to meat. It's pure. Anybody else? Comments, thoughts? Okay. I realized I did not approve that video. So let me go ahead and make sure I approve it. So if you guys want to go back and watch it, you can. I think it's like a nice, quick, hang on. Sorry. All right, I will go back and approve that. For some reason, it's not letting me right now. But I'll go back and approve that if you guys want to watch it again. I know it goes kind of quickly, kind of there at the end. But thinking about regulations that have happened since then to help with our food, you might even think about things we could still be doing. And that's where we're going to be hopping into next week with Fast Food Nation. Hey, Aubrey. Okay, so what is food safety now? If you guys would go on Canvas, and I'll post this, but it's easier if you can scroll on your own. On Canvas to the assignment in this week's module, it says food safety regulations in the jungle start in class. You guys will open that up, you'll see the slides, and on slide 5, you'll see this link for what is food safety. And if you guys will open that up, what you'll see is the foodsafety.gov site. And just take a few minutes to kind of poke around in there. What I want you guys to look at is the modern regulations and agencies we have in place to protect U.S. food safety. So I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes to just kind of read through that. If you would like to write your reply in the discussion box to kind of organize your thoughts, you can do that. If you'd rather just think and then share, you can do that too.
in Chicago through
Okay, guys, just checking in. By show of hands, who needs a little more time to read and think before we talk? Okay. Give you guys a couple more minutes. You good?
Miss Osborne,
Yes, sir.
what was the question that we're answering?
Good question. So it's the second one on that assignment on Canvas. Says what agencies and modern regulations are in place to ensure U.S. food safety?
Okay, thank you.
Here, how about I just pop that? I'll pop that in the comments. That'll be a lot easier. Good question, Kevin. Okay, does anybody want to kick us off? Agencies or regulations that control modern food safety? Yeah, Georgia. Sanitizing equipment, absolutely. Yes. Anybody else? You can either unmute or type it in comments. FDA, nice, Cody, yes. Right, they protect public health by looking at meats, livestock, poultry, eggs, all kinds of good stuff. Isaiah, the FSIS, yeah, I didn't even know the FSIS existed.
I was gonna say, I think it also speaks to the fact that they're trying to make things safer by like that they have one that's for like meat and poultry and one that's for like produce and stuff,
Yeah.
because that shows that they're dividing it up so everyone can be really specialized and good at what they do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, thinking about this, like we have all these are federal agencies, right? And then the CDC, which we've heard a lot about with coronavirus, but definitely looking at making sure those illnesses don't pass through to us. Yeah, good, Mohit. Yes. Yeah. Good job. Yeah, nice answers, guys. All right, and then state departments, right? State departments of health. I'm not sure exactly what Indiana's regulations are, although I'm sure we could kind of click some links and find out more about Indiana. It says we're sorry. But I did want to mention to you guys that you can kind of click around on here. I just went to the About page. But if you're interested in learning more about food safety, there's like some charts you can do. And this too is part of food safety, is teaching the public how to handle their food, right? We expect that the corporations are going to keep us safe, but also we know, like, if you leave milk out overnight, it's not good anymore, right? It has to stay in the refrigerator. Those are education campaigns they've done to keep people safe. You can talk about how to keep your food safe over here. Try to get that to, there we go. Food poisoning, people who are at risk, and then recalls and outbreaks. If you guys want some interesting reading, right? The fact that agencies now have to post if there's issues with their food, if there's like outbreaks. I'm sure you guys have heard in the news with lettuce recently, like salmonella, getting into some of the lettuces, things like that. They have to post that and publicize it and pull things off shelves, which ultimately costs them money, but it keeps everybody safer. So, yeah. Good answers, guys. Who else wanted to add in? Okay. I think I'm learning your faces. It's taking me a minute, though, without the masks. All right. Okay, I'm going to flip back to this one. Okay, so let me talk about this week. So this week's reading, and by this week, it's going to be kind of short. Ideally, I'd like you guys to have this done on Tuesday. Obviously, I will accept it after Tuesday. You have 3 chapters to read, and the only thing you need that's going to be graded on Canvas this week is that response to the question, how do you see food safety in these chapters? So it's the same question you've been asked for workers' rights and for political corruption, but this time I'm going to ask you just to do it for food safety. And I kept it short for a reason, because I want you guys to try to finish this before Thanksgiving break, ideally before you come to class on Tuesday. I know that's a tall order, so again, if you can't do it, please don't try to kill yourself to get it done, okay? I still need you guys to sleep and eat and take care of yourselves. But you'll see 3 chapters, 1 again from the beginning, and then 2 kind of middle, none of the real later ones, because that's kind of after Jurgis left Chicago and he wasn't really working in the meat packing industry anymore. And what you guys are going to do is read those and answer the question. The reason I want you guys to finish is kind of big picture. So if your head is already exploding with things to do, just ignore this for right now. But when we meet on Tuesday, I will have posted the module for Fast Food Nation, which is going to be a super quick snapshot kind of week. I'm going to post it Tuesday, and then we'll check in on it the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But it's going to be an all kind of on your own thing. So next Tuesday, I'm going to introduce the book, and then we're going to jigsaw it. And each of you guys are going to be responsible for reading and presenting a chapter to us. So 1 chapter, not a ton. And I'm not sure how this will work exactly, because usually we've done this in partners or groups, but and you guys can weigh in on this, I hesitate to put you guys in groups right now, because I can imagine that meeting virtually would be very difficult, and trying to evenly divide work when you're not together might be kind of hard. Do you guys agree with that? I know you guys had that big biology group project earlier this year, and I know a lot of you guys were feeling it with like doing a lot of the work and not having a lot of help. So my hope is to give you guys each your own individual chapter. There are only 10 chapters of the book, so multiple reports on 1 chapter. If you would like, I'll tell you who has which chapter. So if you guys decide you want to work together, I'm cool with that. I just hesitate to make that a requirement, because I don't want that to become something that's a point of stress for you. So I'll put that out next Tuesday. Then you guys will have until the next Thursday to finish that. So you'll have like a week and a half to read your chapter. I'll put all this together, make like a presentation. You'll record yourself on Flipgrid and post. So that'll be what you guys are doing. And then I will post the module for your final project that Wednesday, what is it, December 2nd? And then when you guys come to class on December 3rd, 4th, the 4th, I'll see you Friday the 4th. You guys will have finished Fast Food Nation, and then you'll be able to just kind of launch into the project. And that whole last week of class will be you guys working on your project. Because of that, our Google Meets after next week are going to be much shorter because I'm not going to be really introing a bunch of new material. I'll be showing you what the project is or what your work is, but then you'll have a lot more supported work time. Cool. Okay, so again, if that was too much, just ignore that part for now. What you need to do is what's here on the slide, reading these 3 chapters. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and give you guys some work time, some supported work time. I'm going to throw in comments and attendance / check-in form that I'd like you guys to fill out. It just lets me know you were here, and it gives me a chance to get some feedback from you on how I can help and what your goals are. And then I'm going to stick around until 9:15. You are welcome to stick around with me and work and ask questions and get help. If you need to or want to go after you fill out the form, you are welcome to go.